AU Review in Australia. Hello,
Dude, what's
David.
up? Hey, man.
How are you?
Doing great.
I'm first of all going to give you a shout out for Bones and All because that was unnerving for your few seconds.
I love that. That was a trippy experience. It's not often that I could be convinced to stand in front of a camera, but if it's Luca, I'll do anything.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And like after the Halloween trilogy, we'll call them horror fans, but they were quite vocal about certain things. And then going into The Exorcist, like, was there a certain pressure taken off because you sort of weathered the storm with Halloween?
I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I surround myself with kind of a circle of trust of creative collaborators I've been working with for 20 years. So, I'm always going to make things that are divisive. I know that. I guess my own criteria is make it as personal as possible. Make what I really want to make. Don't let it be engineered by the system or institution or just a fan base. It's good to acknowledge that that exists. And
Mhm.
for me, it's a great opportunity to make a movie that people will open their eyes or turn their heads and maybe buy a ticket to. So I get
Yeah.
excited about that. But I'm always gonna be there to push buttons and challenge myself and challenge an audience.
Yeah, no, because I spoke to Andy Matichak for Halloween Ends, and she was
Uh-huh.
just like, basically the line was like, just don't be precious about it. And I'm like, that's what we need to take away. Horror fans, don't be precious about stuff. Just go into it and enjoy it for what it is.
I remember just being a kid and playing with my Star Wars action figures and creating stories and doing things and I feel like I'm just a grown up version of that same playful kid that I get to play in these sandboxes, whether it's Michael Myers or Chris McNeil, and to be able to have these iconic franchises and get in that playground is an incredible opportunity, and I'm trying to maximize what I want to do in there.
Yeah, and on the topic of Chris McNeil, I mean, when yourself and Scott and Danny and Peter are sort of creating this story, was the narrative always there for Ellen Burstyn to return, or did you have other things in place in case you couldn't get her to say yes?
Yeah, we're not idiots. We were protecting ourselves, much like on Halloween with Lori. You kind of hope there's these ingredients. You hope that you can include them in what you're trying to do, particularly when it's a legacy that means a lot to me. It means a lot to so many people. If you could convince them to do that, and getting to know Ellen was amazing, and I can't say it wasn't challenging to get her there. You're very skeptical of what we're trying to do. A lot of people had come to her in the past, and so her immediate answer was no. But we worked together. We sculpted a character together that I think was meaningful to her, and in a lot of ways mirrored some of her real life experience in the 50 years after the success of the Exorcist film. And then we became great collaborators and formed a great partnership and are really good friends. So that's a thrill for me as a young movie junkie to be hanging out with Alice doesn't live here anymore.
Yeah. And like on the subject of Ellen, like obviously casting is like the casting the young children in this is so crucial to the film's success. And Lydia and Olivia, insane performances. Like how was that casting process when you sort of realize I'm going to be making these kids say and do certain things?
Yeah, well, we had a script that was a blueprint of where we would go, and I looked to them for the early stage of the film. I looked to them for the authenticity of what these young, vivacious young ladies would be saying and how they would be interacting. And so most of that's not even scripted. They just would say things and do things, and we'd do a series and leave the camera rolling and see what happened and then edit it together. And then the emotional attributes of the possession as that started to and under the heavy duress of such of the makeup and the demonic look that Christopher Nelson and his makeup team created for them, it was amazing to see them turn it on and turn it off. The makeup really it just turned into an interpretive dance kind of thing, and when we'd be dark, they'd be dark, and when we'd say cut, they would just joke around and play Taylor Swift songs, and it became really light on the set. So they were really the grounding for the entire crew.
Well, I'm just excited to see how people respond to this one because, like, I think when you take on horror, it's always an experience. And as I said, I spoke to you for Halloween Kills, and like I mentioned like Your Highness. So whenever you want to go back to doing ridiculous comedy, I'm all for
Yes, I'm
it.
ready. I'm ready. I love it. I love it. Just making all it's all a beautiful world, and I'm always trying to explore and push myself in new directions. So we'll see.
Yeah, awesome. Now, thank you so much, David.
Good talking to you.
Cheers.